Hey, and we're, I hope, playing an ad. But hopefully, after this ad, we'll see. I guess maybe you guys can hear me already. I'm not sure. I guess we'll see. Oh. Cool, lots of these. Oh, there's Channing Tatum. I don't know what he is. Okay, can we hear me? Oh, wait, I don't know. My speaker's on. Oh, okay, cool. I will send out the tweet. I was just making sure. I guess the music stopped? The music stopped. Okay, I will send out the tweet. Hello, and welcome to Movie Crap Live. Sorry, it is so much later. Some internet issues and just some cleaning stuff and just kind of all piled up, unfortunately. But yeah, I don't know why the music works. I actually was anyway, a bunch of stuff just happened at once. But hello, K-Master, Cornbread, Super Dusky, William Ellman. Hello, we're back from. You're back. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, you're doing okay. Purple Goop. Anyway. Yes, and the music suddenly worked. I was going to reattach, and it's like, no, I work now. I'm like, okay, cool. Anyway, I guess I fixed it last week, maybe, unintentionally. Whatever. Welcome to the show. Yeah. Oh, cool. Movie. Guilt. No, sorry, I can't. What? I don't understand that. But I'm glad you're here. This will probably be a D23 pre-show, but let me just show off. Hello, I'm here. How's it going? I got my new shirt I got from the in-laws. It's pretty cool. Right here. Hello, Sinram. Chan Talks More Movies. Austin. I said Nathaniel Foga. I think I said hi to everyone. Hello and welcome to the show. I've been doing good. Actually, been pretty good. Had my birthday since the last show, which was a good birthday. We went, my wife and I saw Twisters and 40X. So, hello, Javier Portello and Wandan Natty and Jordan Salafalo. We saw Twisters and 40X, which was crazy because that was an experience. So my review will be of the 40X, the first time I've seen a 40X movie. And then, just saw... had a good lunch, all that stuff. Had some go, why is it called D23 if it is not on the 23? From Austin, first super chat, so I can reveal although Cornbread did guess it. Thank you for the happy birthday thing. It is Prime, mostly just because I saw it at a store that never has energy drinks, and I thought, why not? Hello, Chicken Soup. I'm glad you're here for it. I'm glad you're here. I don't know why. I don't really get D23. I think there's just like corporately, a lot of people were like, look, thank you, Alex Shinraf. A lot of people were like, first off, cheers to you, he said, but yeah, hold on. Cheers to you, Austin. Okay. Help me keep the energy up on this later show. So thank you for that. I think corporately around pre-pandemic, there are a lot of companies who are like, well, Comic-Con is so big. Although conventions are like not... People don't make tons of money off conventions, which I think is why like no company after that did it as much. But yeah, Disney sort of wanted to have their own convention. And so they just called it D23. But they should have just called it DisneyCon. I don't understand why they gave it such a dumb name. It should have just been called DisneyCon. Should I move? I'm going to move this camera down in the, okay, that looks better, I think. But yeah, it doesn't make sense. Other birthday stuff. I watched Muppets Take Manhattan with the kids just because that's kind of the first Muppet movie I saw as a kid. And I did a throwback, and a couple people were like, ended up seeing Muppets Take Manhattan, and I was thinking, I should rewatch that one. Because when I posted, I also thought that. But one of the things I like about throwbacks is I notice people will re-engage with the movie and stuff. So that one inspired me. It's not the best of those three or anything, but it is. I have a lot of fond memories and all of them being in the locker and stuff. And then I watched Cruel Jaws, which is a sort of weird legal thing where they take hello Panavision, if I didn't say that already. Um, uh, what was it? What? Zombie Nightmare was a throwback this weekend. What are you talking about? It was Zombie Nightmare. The Mystery Science Theater Zombie Nightmare happened, Austin. You can scroll down. It should be in the community tab. But yeah, it's like it's Cruel Jaws it's also called Jaws 5, and it's sort of like made, forgetting what country, but they use footage from all the 4 Jaws movies in it, as well as like their own plot. And I'd heard about it, and it was on Tubi, and it was pretty silly and dumb. It's like Mystery Science Theater should do it, but I do think but yeah, it's amazing Tubi had it, to be honest. And in the middle of it, but it's like very cut up, so it's not like Turkish Star Wars or something where they like just have whole sections of Star Wars in it. They like really cut it up, so I was like, okay, that's Jaws 2, that's Jaws. I saw some Jaws 4 in there. That it was weird, but then in the middle, the boat is driving to something, and suddenly they play the Star Wars music, and I was like, what is this? It was really weird. I don't know. I had a few beers, so I didn't want to like review it or anything, but in the future I should review Cruel Jaws. It was quite the interesting thing. Oh, well, it was Austin. It was a throwback extra because I'd already done throwbacks. So throwback extras I don't post everywhere, but I did still do it, to be clear. So I don't like to I don't know. I post a lot as it is, so that was the deal with that. The Be Kind Rewind Miss Piggy video is wonderful, actually. But yeah, I watched Cruel Jaws, and then I ended up falling asleep to Speed Racer at 1 a.m. on Hey Zane Powers on Me TV Tunes, which was cool. It was a weird episode too, which was nice. Anyway, this will probably, I can't think, let me think. Other videos that have come out. Sorry, a little frazzled from, I was like, are we doing the show? Wasn't sure for a little bit. The Smiling Friends season 2 review came out. The Deadpool Wolverine. I'm kind of settling on the Hugh Jackman, Ryan Reynolds. We're almost in videos. I think next weekend is going to be busy, so you'll probably just see the compilations of those with extra stuff. So that those will, next weekend will probably just be that because it's too busy to do stuff. Possibly the one, I don't know, we'll see. There's certain weekends in this fall that are a little crazy, so you might see more compilations in those weekends, but we'll see about all that. And I'm trying to think, throwbacks. What were the throwbacks this week? What was the other one? I'm trying to, now I'm like, I was stupid, I didn't write this down. Anyway, there were throwbacks. Oh, Split. I did Split. I don't know when I'll see Trapped, unfortunately. And the next one actually is going to be of Time Masters, which is sort of getting a re-release. I know at the IFC Center here, and it's getting like, I think, a 4K restoration and all that soon. But I reviewed it a while ago because I did Forbidden Planet, and people really liked that video, and I was interested in his other stuff because I like it. Because his other film, Time Masters, is the director of Fantastic Planet. Was it? Whatever it is. I think it's Fantastic Planet. Whatever. Is it? Yeah, whatever. Him and Mobius, and I thought that was interesting, so I saw that. And I know there's another one with another guy who was a illustrator in heavy metal. I haven't seen that one. But I've always wanted to review that one. I've always wanted to finish up his movies. But Time Masters is interesting. I forgot what I said about it, but it's interesting. So that review will be out. I think this weekend there might be 2 videos, a short and a longer thing on Friday, but we'll see. About that, and maybe some other stuff this weekend. Anyway, the segment is going to be Batman Cape Crusader. I don't know if this show will go till 1. Or Mobius, not Morbius, Mobius, the illustrator. hello JJ Panda and Darren Root and everybody's here. We might this might just be a shorter show just because crazy day, and I don't know. Well, I definitely don't think there'll be the timestamps right away. That might be a tomorrow thing. So sorry about that if you're watching this and like, where are they? Just life in some cases, but I'll try to do that the next day. Anyway, I will talk about the first 3 episodes of Batman Cape Crusader. It was going to be a short, but I have complicated feelings, and I thought that deserved a longer video. So that's why. Anyway, let me drink some water. All right. Here we go. Oh, hey, Dan. How's it going? This and everything I do is supported by you, the fans, either through my Patreon, where you get all sorts of exclusive stuff like postcards, which I seriously will get out this weekend, as well as the commentary series, as well as more power in the movie review vote, and you help me be able to pay bills and do all sorts of wonderful things with that, and help promote the channel and do things with the channel, as well as super chats during the show, where I'll drink this amazing Prime Ice Pop thing, and it'll actually give me more energy, and I'll be more exuberant or whatever, but it also helps do the show and all that stuff. If you're, of course, financially able to do so, I very much appreciate it. It's really nice of you if you can. If you cannot, just liking this video or subscribing helps out, or and subscribing, you get the throwbacks on all the community posts, as well as when my videos come out. But if you're just watching and that's, don't even have an account, you just like watching this, thank you for being here. I really appreciate it. But yeah, I've not seen past the first 3 episodes of Cape Crusader, but I have a lot of... Anyway, we'll get to that later. Also, you should check out my Discord if you like everybody in the chat, and they're all really cool people, I've got to say. Then you can hang out on the Discord. It is there all the time. I don't want to say 24/7 because that's stupid. Of course, the internet is 24/7. But if you want to hang out with them, they're there. It has all sorts of cool stuff, like the exclusive, the general, where I ask like, hey, what should I talk about on Movie Crap tonight? And I take suggestions. There's actually suggestions for Doom Channel. There's an Ask Doom. You can ask me questions all the time, which is sort of up to date. I think I answer them, and then more people ask questions, but I try to be on that. There's movie discussions, video game discussions. They do movie watches, which I'm not sure which one you guys are doing this week, but usually on the weekends they do movie watch-alongs and stuff like that. It is a really cool community. I'm really happy with it, and it is the Discord I'm most active in. So if you like everyone here and like me talking to them and you want to be a part of it, you can just click on the link below. Freaked? Awesome. Click on the link below and join it right now, as well as I have a TikTok, Instagram personal, and for the Reels, Tumblr, Facebook fan page, all the links. If you want to follow me, or Twitter, which is the main thing I'm most active on. And if you want to follow me on any of those things, links are in the description down below. Now, because we're sort of between 2 big news things, we have obviously we had Comic-Con, and now we have D23. This is sort of just a bunch of jumbled news. I will say, I will talk about Warner Brothers. It's going to be I'm going to just warn everyone, it's going to be after the box office stuff, because it's very like industry news, financial. Hello, Jordan. Industry news, financial news kind of stuff. It is important for the industry, and talks about trends coming up, and I actually did a little bit of research on it. So if you're like, I'm not into that, it'll be after the box office stuff. When there are timestamps, you'll be able to skip it, but I'm just I did a fair amount of research, and I think I'm proud of what I'm going to say and stuff. I'm just warning people, because I know you want to hear the fun stuff, and that might be a little less interesting. I'm just warning you, even though I am proud of the research I did on it, and I do think it'll be interesting to talk about. But anyway, first news, and this is kind of news that'll become a bigger thing next week, but I wanted to bring this up anyway. Daniel Chung, the creator of We Bare Bears, is making apparently a huge Pixar announcement that will be I'm assuming at D23 this weekend. The big question we have, and I believe will be answered, is we'll find out who the director of Elio is now, since they've made your turnarounds with that. The thing with Daniel Chung being, I believe that's how you say his name, with Pixar, is Pixar has never taken advantage of just picking people from Cartoon Network and bringing them in, which I think I've never understood this. Like, if I was Pixar, I would be like, hello, Mutant, hello, Gary, Mutant. I've never understood why they're not like calling up like particularly Gendy. If I was them, like when they hired Brad Bird, there was an actual interesting an interesting idea that they would just keep hiring like the top animation directors who weren't in the Pixar fold, which they could do, and they never did. And I think that's why I'm always I've bemoaned that a few times. Like, I would have like brought the Brinks truck and brought Gendy on or something like that. But we'll see. How many viewers have been the max for I don't know. I think it was I don't know, Sinram. To be honest with you, I'm not sure. I think it was the times where like we were the random next video on like a weird religious live stream or something. I think some of that. But anyway, I think it could be cool. But I'm curious what this is. Maybe it's for their show. I've seen they are going to have some announcement for the Pixar show and stuff like that. But we'll get into more of that next time. But because I obviously don't know anything. We also heard that The Day the Earth Blew Up finally got a distributor. I find this to be really frustrating, but I've noticed when I complain about this is only one of the few things I've ever complained about online that people go, oh, you should be patient, and I'm like, why? Patient, like I don't. Anyway, I find it so weird. I'm like, where's the release date? People are like, chill about this. And I'm like, chill, there's no release date. Like, it's been a long time. Anyway, regardless of all that, we did finally learn that Ketchup Entertainment, who, according to a lot of people, have distributed like those parody movies or whatever, has acquired the North American distribution rights for The Day the Earth Blew Up, a Looney Tunes movie, which sounds really cool. I'm very excited for that movie. It opened in Germany and didn't do super well. But this is by Pete Braungart, who did the Looney Tunes shorts. I'm excited to see this. I'm excited to take my kids. I've been very excited for this. This is the first like real Looney Tunes movie. I know they made those movies where it's like a bunch of shorts cut up and stuff like that. I've heard those get worse and worse as it goes. I wouldn't mind reviewing like the first one, or at least seeing them. But we'll Austin, I'm more of a mustard media kind of guy. You know what? I'm going to be honest, Austin. I didn't. It's kind of funny when at first I was like, "What the fuck is Austin talking about?" And it took me a minute, even though I just said whatever. Anyway, cheers to you, Austin. Thank you for your second super chat tonight. I was like, mustard? Why is he talking about mustard? Anyway, gotta give Sony props for getting a Cartoon Network alumni. Nathaniel Fogel, you were right, and I will give them props for actually. It's interesting. Animation does not work in the auteur director thing, and I think everyone thought more studios would, but they really don't. Anyway, cheers to you, Nathaniel Fogel. Anyway, we at least have some news on this. There's no release date. I don't think this is coming out this year. I'm going to be clear on that. If I were them, what I would do release-wise is put it out in a very not busy time so it could dominate. But I don't know, I don't know the 2025 release calendar super well, so I'm not going to throw out a time or something. But I hope they pick a good time, and I hope it does well, and I hope people see it. And it's cool that a 2D movie will be getting more of a spotlight. So I think that'll be cool. Sorry, there's a lot of little things, and then there'll be bigger things. This is big though. Netflix had an animation movie leak, and a lot of stuff came out actually, which is kind of interesting because this happened right around the time what's her name? The squirrel lady from the Sponge. A fly almost went into the camera there. Uh, Sandy, Sally, whatever. The long day. Anyway, but we learned among the Netflix titles that were released is the Plankton movie, Spellbound, Terminator Zero, Jetro Chow versus the Underground, Ranma 1/2, Dan, Arcane Season 2, and The Fairly Odd Parents: A New Wish, as well as we learn Mononoke the movie, Phantom of the Rain, and ReZero also got released. Sandy Cheek. Okay, why am I? Anyway, sorry. I think this is insanely embarrassing. A lot of people are. It seems industry-wide articles now. It is less okay to review these things. I also don't have any time to see extra movies on top of what I'm seeing, so I don't think I would either. And it's also hard. I think what happened is people don't cover these as much because you want to talk about a new movie when other people are talking about it. And let me tell you, I've seen a lot of movies early and put out reviews, and it doesn't always work out. So I think, anyway, I think we might see less of this because people will less cover it as much. But I'm not against. I'm more pro leaks if it was like here's the thing. If you're gonna leak something, I'll get to you, Zane Powers. Don't worry. If you're gonna leak something, leak Batgirl, Coyote vs. Acme, the Scoob Holiday Haunt stuff. Release that. Don't release, like, these things are gonna come out anyway. So it's like, that's interesting, but I want like a for real leak. I want to like fuck some shit up, man. Let's release the Warner Brothers. Let's open up that fucking vault. Like, that's what we should be doing. But are you now, or have you ever been pro leak Zane Powers? I guess I am, because I even talk about if I ever get my X-Men Origins Wolverine review, which is going to be interesting because I will let you guys know, I found my footage from the review I never edited together from 2013, as well as I've shot new footage for now, so it's gonna be a lot of cutting back and forth in that one, and talking about that leak of that movie, which I find more interesting than the horrible one that's released. I think if you're going to be honest with you, since we're talking about leaks, but also choose the Zane Powers. There you go. Austin and Zane Powers do a great job running the Discord. I don't know if I said that before, but I'll say it again. But I'll say that, like, if you're releasing something new, I realized I forgot to. Okay, let me say, because Ryan got me some stuff and I forgot to mention it. Now I want to. My frazzleness is coming out more and more. I think the thing with the leaks is, and I'll talk about it before the after the break, I guess. That the things Ryan got me, actually. But I think if it's like a different version, like what happened with the Lion King thing recently, the work print cut, or the X-Men Origins Wolverine without the special effects done, if there's an interesting, like, it was something we couldn't see otherwise, but if it's something that's going to come out, and it does anyway, it's sort of like, I don't know if there's as much usefulness other than just fucking with the company. I think it fucks with them more to be like, look, you would never release this. And like, if I just, the Plankton movie is going to come out next year, well, we'll just end up watching the Plankton movie, but if it's like the Plankton movie with like cool storyboards and stuff, maybe. But anyway, I guess, I don't know. I guess I am I'm pro people fucking shit up. Let me put it that way. All right. So moving on, the anime. So I wanted to talk about, are we getting another Mufasa tomorrow? Jesus. I'm like not pro that movie, but I do love Barry Jenkins a lot. So it's like very hard for me. Am I wearing the same shirt in both videos is what Gary asked me. I'm not, you know what? I'm not 100%. I feel like, no. I feel like I'm wearing different shirts. I wish I don't know if, what? I should have thought of that, Gary. This is what, the thing is, like, the problem with making everything by yourself is, like, That's a great suggestion. That if I like had a producer or something, you know what you should do? It's like, but when you don't have anybody, you're like, oh, that would have been. Anyway, so the animated Evil Dead. The thing with this is, I think this is a really cool news that they're trying to do this, but we don't have a studio. We don't. We don't have an animator. We don't have anything. It's just that Bruce Campbell said this is what we're gonna do, and he'd be down to do it at a convention. Which I'm sure Bruce Campbell, he is very involved in the Evil Dead kind of franchise, so it's not like it's not like Zachary Levi saying Chuck's coming back, but it's but it's basically like someone who is actually high up in that IP, I guess you could say. He said he would do it, and that they're working on it and stuff. So I there is validity there, but I'm also like, there's no studio and there's no like, there's no development deal and there's no animator. So I guess this is the rumblings that this could happen. I was gonna have this more in the thumbnail, and I was like, there's like nothing here though. It's like I'm so for this, but there is nothing fucking here. There's no news. There's no attachment to it, and I think this would be great for Evil Dead, but yeah, there's just no real news beyond Bruce Campbell said they're doing it and he'd be down, and I'm like, okay, cool, but I think until we actually hear anything, we should just take it as someone who's attached said that they're developing one. And I hope it's not just news where, you look back in 10 years and go, what was that about? Did that go anywhere? And you never find out. I hope it's not that. I hope it becomes something, because I'd be very down. I think Evil Dead would work very well with that. Especially if you get like a wackier, like Pete Browngarden. He should do it. That would be awesome, wouldn't it? I think that would be awesome. Anyway. So I wanted to talk about, so this was when I asked the Discord, right? What I should talk about. There's a lot about this Killing Gawker movie, and I was a little surprised because I knew about it and I wasn't really going to cover it, because this, and I'll talk about this later with the SNL thing, I'd seen the documentary about this actually, the Gawker story, and I thought like, okay, you don't really, I kind of feel like the documentary covers it all. But there is some sort of interesting stuff about this. Now, I think the thing that most people were talking about is that Hulk, if you know about how Gawker ended, basically Gawker published a sex tape with Hulk Hogan where I think this guy Bubba the Love Sponge, that's his real like radio name, had Hulk Hogan have sex with his wife, but it was like, I guess it was, oh, hello, Lethargy Clad. How's it going? Oh, well, that's cool. How's it going, Evan? Are you Evan from Baltimore? I feel like you're that Evan. I'm not sure. Sorry. I feel like you are. That's your saying. Anyway, that's cool that you're here. Anyway, so basically, Bubba the Love Sponge had Hulk Hogan have sex with his wife. Like, they all consented to this. But the Hulk Hogan did not consent to it being videotaped. I'm not 100% sure the leaking. I haven't seen the movie in a while, but the documentary or going over the case. But he posted. It was posted on Gawker, and then Hulk Hogan using, I believe it was Peter Thiel, who's like a rich guy who hated Gawker for, I think, a reason, forget which. And then they sued Gawker and basically shut Gawker down, and it was kind of considered a big failure. Okay, that is that Evan. Okay. I go way back with Evan. He's awesome. We were watching Mystery Science Theater together on EP tapes, me and this guy. So I'm glad you're here, man. It was basically like a complete failure of freedom of speech and stuff like that. So it is an actual important story, because they basically like a billionaire worked to shut down a website. Now, was it the best website in the world? No, but it it was kind of scuzzy and all that shit, but it did get shut down. So there is something with that. The other thing with this is, this is Ben Affleck would be playing, Ben Affleck is playing Hulk Hogan. I think, is Matt Damon's in it also? Who is he playing? Hold on. But the bigger thing is Gus Van Sant will be directing it, and this would be a return to because he directed Good Will Hunting, so it's sort of a reunion, an extra big reunion of the Good Will Hunting crew. Is Matt Damon playing Peter Thiel? I can't find it. This is also part of their thing called the Actors Equity or Artist Equity, Actors Equity, Artist Equity, which is kind of cool because everyone who works on this movie, much like with their last one, the Nike one, whatever that one was called, sorry, Shoes the movie, everyone, even from the lighting guy to the DP, gets a cut of the film, and it's sort of like a cool production company. Honestly, I actually give them a lot more credit than they deserve, or no, that they do deserve, because that's actually fucking awesome. They worked out a better financial way, so like everyone on the film gets a cut of it, and they take I think they get less of a upfront fee, but they get more of a percentage of the film, so they get rewarded. So that's why if you see them doing a thing with that, they get air. Thank you. Sorry. You get there's more publicity behind it because a lot of people in the industry are curious what's going to happen. Are you now, or have you ever been pro Gawker? I don't know if I was ever pro Gawker, but I felt bad that it got shut down. Netflix did a documentary a while ago, and it was, I remember, interesting, but I don't. It's kind of like one of those where you're more getting the information than you like the thing. So anyway, cheers to you, Zane Powers. And Austin with a very, very generous super chat. Thank you, sir. Says, at the theater, they want cold sodas, hot popcorn, and no monsters in the projection booth. Do you think the Gremsters can stand up to the Hulkster? Well, if I were you, I'd run the rest of Gremlins too. You know what? I would say they should just make Ben Affleck do the scene from Gremlins 2. It has nothing to do with the Gawker thing. But why not? I am okay. First off, thank you very much, Austin. Cheers to you. It's very nice of you. The thing about this is, if it was Ben Affleck, because I believe he did. Didn't he do? I think he directed Air, if I'm not mistaken. And if he had directed it, I'd be like, I don't hate Ben Affleck, but he's not. But Gus Van Sant directing it, who's an indie darling kind of director, and doesn't do as many big things that we really hear about anymore. I'm a little more curious about this, and I that makes me curious. Is Gus Van Sant, like Ben Affleck and Matt Damon in this? Like, I also I didn't like Air, like the part where Matt Damon gives a speech and describes Michael Jordan's whole career to him. I'm like, dude, that is too far. Like, it was a crazy idea. I will say they do get the idea that it was kind of these executives' wild idea, and that's actually fairly accurate in dealing with his parents. All that's not. But when you go through, when you go through that kind of thing, it was just I was kind of laughing with my wife. I thought it was a little too much. But I think Gus Van Sant can really kind of smooth them out a lot, because if you think of both of their creative limitations and stuff, I think someone like Gus Van Sant can use it to his advantage, basically, which I think he did better in Good Will Hunting, because I think if you look at their stuff later, you can tell he made them look a lot better. I mean, it's sad, I'm sure Robin Williams it would be cool to have everyone. I think Minnie Driver should be in here too. But I think Vincent D'Onofrio or Walter Goggins for Peter Thiel. Oh, I like that. I don't know Peter Thiel too well, but as a, anyway, it's been a little bit. Vincent, where are we? Sorry. Gotta get back to my little notes here. I kind of wanted, I'm going to jump around my script because I wanted to talk about, let's talk about the Saturday night trailer and the Saturday Night Live news with Tim Waltz and all that. Well, the Saturday night trailer, I gotta say, it is a good trailer. I don't think it's a bad trailer. I think it looks like a bad movie, though, because it looks like someone's going to be like, this is important and this is going to change stuff and whatever. To be honest, it doesn't look like a good movie. I think the other problem with a lot of these movies, and this is the same thing I had when Man on the Moon came out a long time ago, is a documentary or the book, and SNL has been talked about for so long, and especially that first season, is that going to be more interesting than the movie I see? Like, what new thing are you going to say? And a couple people were bringing up, like, there are so many other stories with SNL, like, why pick the first night, and like this kind of idea that it's going to be in real time and stuff. That the real time element, and if there's a real suspense to it, I'm a little interested. But Jason Reitman is not the same filmmaker he was. I really hated his Ghostbusters, and Gil Kenan did help write this, but he also helped write the Ghostbusters I really don't like. So I'm not sure, and I don't love the cat. I don't love anything really about it, but I thought like the little like tick tick music was really cool. I actually really like trailer music. You used to be able to find the music to trailers like somewhere, and that's why I did that Han Solo. I used the music from the Solo trailer. I was eating the nuggets with the Szechuan sauce, and I've honestly always thought of doing another thing like that, and that music I was like felt a little inspired, but I don't have a concept. So but I did think it came together well, but I am a little like, I do feel like it'll be like, I was so hyped for Man on the Moon, the Andy Kaufman movie, and I'd seen so many documentaries and read so many articles about Andy Kaufman, and then I was let down. And almost everyone I talked to at the time, and even specifically I remember Howard Stern actually talking about how he felt disappointed, because at the time they were like, Comedy Central had 2 documentaries on Andy Kaufman they played, and he made a new one, a biography episode right before. There are a lot of articles and books because there's so much hype with Jim Carrey. And then when the movie came out, everyone was like, oh, I mean, I thought you were going to do something different with this. So that's kind of, I get those vibes from the Saturday Night trailer. I do think, I saw an artist I'm going to talk about him later, and I know he's formerly controversial, but has changed. Devin Faraci posted they should do a Charles Rocket movie. If you know the story of Charles Rocket, he's probably, I would actually see a movie about him. I think Bill Hader could just do a great job with that. Or like, if this was like the first SNL, like whatever, but what if this was the SNL with Charles Rocket's first SNL, which is the cast right after everyone left, or the episode with Trump, or the episode with Andrew Dice Clay, or this season how Eddie Murphy started, or like, there's so many good stories. It's like, I don't really get what we're getting from this. And I think like that's my problem with a lot of hello Rat Boy. I don't get what we're getting ultimately from this movie, and I just don't understand it, other than like it's recognizable IP, and I get that people like just look at these biopics that way, but I just don't understand. And they always pick like the most, like the biggest point of their careers, and it's like, I just don't. Anyway, the one thing I will say about this, and to talk about another controversial figure, but I saw it before he was a thing, but James Franco made a documentary about the making of an SNL episode, and it used to be on Hulu. I don't know what happened to it, but it was actually really good. I just think, if you ever see it, I don't know how available it is. I remember thinking it was a great concept for a documentary, and I really liked it during James Franco's like, I'm going to make a million different movies period. And he was just an insane person, but it was, and there's parts of that doc that don't work, but I actually find it to be one of the more interesting documentaries, because it's really cool. And if you can check that out, I would. James Franco's not in it, actually. I forget who the host was, but I think he hosted and then asked to come back the next week to make a documentary about how they made an SNL episode. And I think I read some interview, like, it took a lot of convincing to let him do it, but it's like a really interesting, like, that would be cool. Like, seeing, if you see the making of an SNL episode, I think would be interesting. Or I don't know. I feel like there's better ways to do it, but whatever. I'm still like pro, and I've said this before, make a biopic about Eric B. and Rakim. I want to see the whole arc of their career, how they changed hip hop. I think that's the only movie I want to see, because I always have to explain to people, like, no, there's a difference between like Big Daddy Kane rapping and Nas rapping, and the reason that happened was Eric B. and Rakim. I think that would. Anyway, the other SNL news, and I don't talk about SNL a lot, but with the vice president, Tim Walz, I think, there was a lot of talk as soon as he was announced. Although I thought he looked like Tim Conway, but Tim Conway's dead, so I knew he was not going to play him anywhere. But anyway, that he should be played by Steve Martin on SNL. Apparently, he seems like a good guy, the VP guy, by the way. Very pro him. But I think there's a lot of talk Steve Martin should play him on Saturday Night Live. I thought it was a boring casting choice, and so did Steve Martin, and was like, I'm not an impressionist, and you should really get someone from the cast. Kudos to Steve Martin for not putting up with that bullshit, which is cool of him. I also think they should get someone from the cast to do it. That's like, I don't love when they get these celebrity things. I know they had like, I guess it started with like John Goodman playing Linda Tripp, and they've done it ever since, but I wish they wouldn't do that. But I'll say this about when people fan cast politicians for SNL. I don't fan cast because anytime you read who they turn down, like look up, and you actually can't find a lot of info on this, and I wonder why. When Obama first got elected, and their choices were, I think, Jordan Peele, who couldn't get out of his contract with Fox, so that's actually not. It's a little like, I'll give them like a little benefit of the doubt, guys. I get it. What's a Tim Conway about 120? That's good. But they couldn't get him, and I think Donald Glover was trying to get the role as well. And so like their choices were Jordan Peele, Donald Glover, and then they went with Fred Armisen in blackface, which is like, what the fuck? Like, I don't know. Like, could you have tried harder with Jordan Peele? It's just super weird. And supposedly that's why Jordan Peele never shows up for any Mad TV stuff, because of that. So, but anyway, it's because Jordan Peele was formerly on Mad TV, and when Obama first won the election, Mad TV was still going, and that's why he auditioned. He was very much trying to be, before he was Obama on Key and Peele show, they wanted him to be Obama on SNL, and it didn't work out. But it is crazy, like when you think of like you had Donald Glover, and I believe it was Donald Glover, and Jordan Peele, and you went with Fred Armisen. I'm always like, when you hear, anytime I hear about that, I'm always like, I don't, they typically either make the obvious choice or the worst choice when they, unless it's like, the reason like Chevy Chase was funny as Gerald Ford, because it sort of worked, and that's when SNL's things work best. It's not when like you get Tina Fey to be Sarah Palin. It's like when they do these accidents or hire somebody new, and they often don't do that. And that's, I don't know. Although I still watch SNL as much as I want to complain about it. Anyway, thank you again for another super chat, Austin. It's very nice of you. Cheers to you, sir. For this, no. Anyway, all right, moving on. Let's go back to, where were we? Okay, so Cartoon Network has shut down their website. This happened today. A lot of people are like, there's no place for kids on the internet. There's no this, there's no that. The thing with this is, like, I have kids, and I will go and find, like, coloring pages. You can find those on some sites like Netflix. Kids actually send you an email. And, is it here, actually? No. And you can print out things, and there's coloring stuff like that. But, I'm sorry, Zane Powers. I'm a fucking idiot. Okay. You're right. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. They said they should get, I'll do another one for you there. They should get Dana Carvey to come back and do it. I agree, Dana Carvey would actually probably do a good job. But I sort of just want someone from the cast. But I do love Dana Carvey, so it'd be cool. I apologize, Zane Powers. It's been a long day. Apologize. Cheers to you. Thank you for the super chat. My bad on that one. But I don't think the Cartoon Network website going down, I think it's just more like, I know like Paramount shut down a lot of their websites for their channels. To me, it's like everyone's like, there's no place for this. Like, how are we going to do that? And I just am like, I don't think it's like a part of anyone's conversation anymore. It's sort of like these, I think they really need to figure out what to do with these brands if you're going to be these companies, what you're doing with them. And I think Cartoon Network should have a better distinction on Max and stuff. But like, to me, it's like, it's not really that big of a tragedy. It's sad, but I don't think like kids today don't know what that is. So it is sad, but I think it's just a sign of the times. And but I do think like there should be more access to these IP and like coloring pages and games and stuff kids can print out and play with and stuff like that. There should be more of that. But CartoonNetwork.com I don't believe was really doing that anyway. So it's sort of like ended its usefulness, unfortunately. So, oh well, unfortunately, I guess. Two things that were kind of didn't happen is Bruce Timm said he apparently HBO came to him, or Warner's came to him and asked him to make more Batman the Animated Series, and he said no. I find that odd because, to be honest with you, Batman the Animated Series was like making movies like the Batman and Harley Quinn movie. They're making that like sort of recently, and I don't think it ever really stopped that continuity, which I think I'll get more into with Batman Cape Crusader. But I was like, I think like the problem with Batman Animated Series, it never could really reboot because it never went away, so you could never really miss the continuity or something. So, but it seemed like they wanted to, and he said no, and that's why we got Cape Crusader, and we'll talk more about that later. We also found out that Netflix is okay. Well, the thing about kids don't have online spaces, they do, but it's like so much more protected. Now I can say as a parent and stuff, they have like certain games, and also the Sesame Street app rules. So there's that. Also, there are certain spaces, but like going to a website is not something a lot of them are into. It's more like apps and games and stuff like that. So that's why I was like saying the games and the coloring pages were, if they have an app that has games for each of the things, which I don't think they do anymore. But anyway, but yeah. So Netflix, and this was not reported in the best way, and I want to clarify this because I actually I found out how the deal happened. There's an interview with Zack Snyder and his wife, who admitted that Netflix quietly canceled all of the Army of Dead stuff, like the animated show and other sequels and stuff like that. So it wasn't, the other place reported we've heard Netflix canceled, but no, it was a reporter who asked Zack Snyder and his wife who confirmed it. So to be clear on this, I'm surprised by the Army of the Dead thing because it was one of the most viewed movies on Netflix, but it seems like, and I mentioned this a few weeks ago, how Zack Snyder's other projects have been quietly canceled. It seems like Hollywood just sort of done with him after the failure of Rebel Moon. And I think, it does seem like Hollywood sort of, just getting away from Zack Snyder. They're just like moving away from him. But I am surprised because this was actually successful. Like it wasn't, I was like, oh, I would have thought they would do another one. But it seems like whatever happened with Rebel Moon and the Snyder Cut and all that stuff, Hollywood's just like, let's just like get rid of all this stuff. And I think whatever that 300 show was and stuff like that, but I know he said he wants to do a smaller thing, and I think because his films cost so much and the director's cut, it seems like Hollywood sort of had it with him. But if you're wondering if you see a place and people are like, oh, we've heard, I'm like, you heard it from a confirmed source. So anyway, so this kind of is a odd, I might do this and then I kind of need a piece. So I will talk about this Interstellar 70mm thing, and then I might pee and then sort of take a break, and then we'll see. Sorry, I feel like I'm a little off tonight because of everything. But Zane Powers said, God, will he go crawling back to DC like the Russos? No, I don't think that's gonna happen. I think the difference between Snyder and the Russos is the Russos made them money and Snyder didn't, and embarrassed them with the Snyder, which was their decision. I think it's sort of like why you're not seeing like an outright cancellation is they're like, he's not supposedly a shitty guy, but he hasn't really made anyone money in a long time. But I'm seriously surprised, like the one thing he made that was an outright hit they're not. I would have thought Netflix would be like, okay, now do the Army of the Dead thing. But maybe that spin-off movie flopped about the Safe Breaker guy. Was it just the Safe Breaker guy that got a spin-off? Was that it, I think? I didn't actually look into the cinematic universe of that. But anyway, cheers to you, Zane Powers. Thank you very much, sir. Zane Powers. I'm going to say it again because I'm embarrassed for myself. So, there's going to be a re-release of Interstellar with the 70 millimeter IMAX prints. I actually saw that, the 70 millimeter IMAX prints, when I saw Interstellar. But we learned from a sort of a weird source on Twitter that they said a lot of those prints were destroyed and they don't have enough prints to actually do the re-release, and something was going on with the re-release. And then we learned, I forget the original date, but it's now happening on December 6th. And then they say that it was actually moved back to get a to promote a home video release around the holidays. That's why they moved it to then. It wasn't because they didn't have enough prints. But then another source said that it's really because 70 millimeter IMAX prints do degrade, and this came out in 2014. It actually came out like right after I started Pizza Party, if I recall correctly. But what's going on with this is, so they degrade quickly, so they actually got rid of some of them that were like just not in good shape, which I think that's probably what happened. These are also like massive prints, and I'm sure Paramount was just like, do we have to like keep these fucking things, like all of them? And I'm not exactly sure. I think some of it is they had some, and some were probably beaten up by certain theaters, and some were just naturally degrading. And obviously they're not going to keep as many prints as a wide release of a movie for a re-release like this. And supposedly Nolan is pissed and all this stuff. I don't know what really happened, but it does seem like there was probably a miscalculation as to what they could do, and they had to recalibrate what they should do. But it is sad that like they had to destroy prints, but I've heard from other people and stuff that like some of these prints just like were not going to be, couldn't be played anymore. So it's sort of like, are you destroying a print, or are you just like getting rid of a thing that doesn't work? But it sounds like they do have some prints. There's also going to be digital screens available. I saw this, and to be totally, I think it's like 70 millimeter doesn't, but it's 70 millimeter IMAX specifically. So I think it's like a different thing, but supposedly those kind do, but I'm not like an expert on specific thing. But yeah, I did see it on film at the IMAX in New York. It looked kind of murkier than it does digitally. So I, as someone who's seen that print, and I've talked to other people who did, a lot of people later said they liked watching it on their TVs or watching it in a digital theater more. So I think a lot of the people who want the 70 millimeter, I've seen some of them say they didn't get to see it and they want to, and I totally get that. Like if you're a super fan of it, it's not my favorite Nolan at all. I'm not the biggest Christopher Nolan fan anyway, but it's not my favorite. But I would say like just be prepared for like it's a little murkier and darker, and not necessarily a great way. Now maybe that was the look he was going for, but I just didn't think it was necessarily worth it. But we'll see what the deal is with that. But I do think they sort of fumbled the bag a bit, and I think they should have figured out what they're doing. And if you're going to do these re-releases with 70 millimeter, figure out what you're doing and how you're going to do it, and the logistics of it. It sounds like they didn't really figure that out, and there are leaks in terms of information, and then we get to this place where you're like, what the fuck is going on with the Interstellar? I wish it was Interstellar. I enjoy that movie more, to be honest with you. All right, I need to use the bathroom. So this will be the break. I don't know. Then we will talk about a few things, box office, Warner Brothers, and then maybe I'll just do the thing there. And answer me this in the chat when I'm taking a break. I'm going to put up the thing because I forgot, and if this is the one break, I love Ace the Wind Rider's thing so much. Answer me, did I talk about the Creature of the Black Lagoon remake last week with James Wan? I forget if I did. Someone in the chat tell me, because I want to talk about that a little if I didn't. Anyway, I just need to use the bathroom. I will be right back after this. Okay, hello. I guess I did mention the creature from the Black Lagoon thing. Okay, I was like, did I? I just, because I find that interesting. I was like, I could talk about that anytime, I guess. Anyway, I don't know if that's the only. I'm like not sure how to do this tonight because I'm starting at a weird time. I'm sorry it's so late to everybody. Apologies. But let's hold on. Sorry. Welcome back. Where are my notes at? Well, that's the wrong. Where'd you go? Okay. Okay. Only a few things on box art. Well, how about this? Let's see where we're at after the Warner Brothers segment, and we'll go from there. Oh, I'm sorry, Super Dusky. Thank you for being here. It's really cool that you were here. The one trailer I do want to talk about is Rebel Ridge, which is a cool, it's basically a sort of a remake of Rambo First Blood. It's about a black guy who is has the money to bail his friend out, brother, not sure. And he's stopped by police and they steal his money. And then because he's, like Rambo is a super well-trained military guy, he goes on his revenge and attacks those guys who just picked on him and stuff like that. There's a car. I don't know. Somebody was honking. It looks like a really smart reinterpretation of the Rambo First Blood. I think that's a cool movie. This is done by Jeremy Saulnier, who did, I think that's how you say his name. He's at least the guy who did Green Room and Blue Ruin, which had its 10th anniversary this year. Blue Ruin did. Blue Ruin's a great revenge film. Green Room's a great movie. I didn't see his third film, which was on Netflix with Jeffrey Wright, which I think came out like at a bad time. But anyway, like a bad time for me. There's like too much going on. But I wish that I'll talk about this and I'll mention the Kermit stuff. Hold on. I wish that I'd seen it, but maybe I'll see it before this because I really liked his first two movies, and I think it was like Joker was coming out. I was going to New York Comic Con. I just missed it for whatever reason, but this looks like such a cool movie. I'm very excited for Rebel Ridge. I think it's going to be really, really interesting, and the whole First Blood concept is such a great concept and stuff like that. And I think it fits into modern day very perfectly. So I'm very excited for that. Yes. Okay. So I wanted to give one shout out to Ryan Walterson, who got me a big surprise, actually. I didn't mention, sorry. I was just like so happy to actually start the thing. I should have written this down. He got me the book, which was very nicer than the Book of Bill, which I didn't expect because he asked me, "Are you getting it?" And I was like, I don't think I can right now, but it's like really cool. He got me the Barnes & Noble one with exclusive stuff, which is really nice of Mr. Walterson. As well as these guys showed up this Kermit here. And there's an Elmo, and these, basically the kids have basically made these into theirs. I think the Elmo, I think this guy, although I will criticize this Elmo a little because Elmo's toy friend isn't Rocco. He doesn't like Rocco. So that he has a rock is a little offensive, to be honest with you. I tried to get them up here now, but my son has taken them and slept with them a few times, so it's like I don't think I don't know how he's gonna get lost in some toys there. But I am trying to save this guy because I really like this guy. This Kermit's cool. But yeah, that's the deal with that. Sorry. Anyway, I think those are all my kind of presents. Did I get? Well, I got my wife got me a cool picture. I got my Sonic Youth washing machine shirt, which I didn't wear because I was like the blue light I thought wouldn't work well with the blue shirt, but I finally have a Sonic Youth washing machine shirt. So anyway, two more things. Sorry. One, the Borderlands reviews came out and it's at 0%, except for Grace Rudolph likes this movie, which I was like, okay, that seems very on point with you. I don't know if I'll see it. I might. I'm not sure. I was like, there's like so many other movies. Like I'd like to finally see Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes and review that and all those things. But Borderlands looks, whoa. Um, I think the Kermit's a good pop. It's almost like you don't. I like the ones that don't actually look like pops or whatever that is. And then Alien Romulus marketing, where people were like around New York City with um, the face huggers, looks so cool. I didn't see any of them, although it's like they're places I've like walk around on a daily basis, and I don't know when they did these things, but it looks really cool. I like what they're doing with their Romulus, but I will say the interesting thing is with the Alien Romulus thing is when I was seeing the trailer before it was before Deadpool, and I was like, it's like sort of the same concept as Don't Breathe, which I think is smart. I again haven't seen this movie yet, but because Alien, as I've always heard, was a haunted house movie in space. And this new one is basically like, I believe they go to a space station they know has tech there, and they're going to rob this house, and they don't, a bit much like Don't Breathe, and they think they can easily take it and no one will notice. And it's like sort of very similar. And I think that's like actually, I think that's kind of a cool idea because it's going into the whole like, okay, the spaceship is a house in the future kind of thing, which I thought was actually pretty cool. So I'm when I really sat there and like really got to watch it in the theater, I was like, oh my god, this is just Don't Breathe in space, isn't it? But that's cool. I mean, I remember liking concept wise, you can do a lot with, and it looks like a cool concept. And look at everything you did with the Don't Breathe house. You know, the possibilities there. Whether you liked it or not, he did a lot of things like that. So. But remember, horror can't take in space. Can't horror can take? I'm confused by that same part. Anyway, box office. Let's get into box office. There's a lot to actually talk about this week, believe it or not. So first off, Deadpool and Wolverine blew past everybody, and after this past weekend, it got to 395 million. It is presently at 431, I believe, probably more than that, to become the highest-grossing R-rated movie domestically. Worldwide, it needs to be, where are we? Joker is actually the highest grossing one. It's actually the third behind Joker and Oppenheimer, but domestically it outgrossed Passion of the Christ. But it actually worldwide, every Deadpool movie has outgrossed Passion of the Christ, to be clear. But he says that in, I think it's Deadpool 2 or something. But yeah, they're the highest grossing R-rated movie in America, at least, is now Deadpool and Wolverine, not of all time, not of, oh, hello, Will and Will Studios. Wait, what? Oh, it's a dumb thing people said? Oh, okay. Well, they are dumb because there's horror in space. But anyway, it's now well past being the highest grossing one. This actually the third highest grossing one domestically is Deadpool. And this, yeah, Deadpool's I think the only franchise that has several in the top 10. Hangover and Hangover 2 used to, and they've been notched down. And I see Logan on here and Ted and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, American Sniper is actually fourth, and Joker and Oppenheimer. But yeah, it's kind of interesting there. But going more into the box office, and this was an interesting weekend, I want to get more into it, is how much things were holding. And this is, again, like we're having good box office weekends. And I think we need to talk about it, even though the overall box office has not passed last year, which is not good, it's improving more than people thought it would at this point. So Deadpool and Wolverine was still at number one. It went down by 54%. That is not a big deal when you're talking about $200 million grossers, because the problem is once you are making $200 million or over $150 million, you're crossing this point where like you're running out of people who will possibly pay to see your movie. And like, I think it happened like about when the last Harry Potter came out, it made like a shit ton of money the first 5 days, and then the second weekend it was like number 7. But it's like you ran out of people, dude. like everybody saw it, and I think that's sort of why you have these like huge weekends. When you get the huge weekends, they have huge declines, and people go see because people hate them. I'm like, no, it's because people are rushing out to see it. So to clear that up, people get weird about that for whatever reason. It actually added 20 theaters as well, but yeah, it made $96 million its second weekend. Twisters held very well at 22 million, only going down 34%, which is really good. At 195 million, at least in the U.S., I don't think it's doing much better overseas. I didn't actually look on that because I know that's been an issue. I guess I'm assuming they have Twisters overseas. I don't think it's just an American thing. Yeah, it's only made 79 international, where actually, because I'm talking about last weekend, which is a bit ago, it's at 204 million. Because this summer it seems like the dailies are doing okay. Trapped only opened at third with 15 million, but it's actually a little up from Cabin in the Woods, or no, Knock on the Cabin or whatever. It seems to be like 15's about the place for M. Night movies. It costs about 40. It's not too concerning, but a little bit. But also taking in mind that August doesn't have that many huge things, so some of these movies will just keep playing and doing okay and stuff. So it's not the kiss of death people think it is. I think right now we're at where are we with Trapped? It's at 25 worldwide, which is, yeah, again, not amazing, but and then Despicable Me 4 and Inside Out 2 only went down about 21%. They're still holding 4 and 5. But then at number 6, well, actually, before I get into that, Nathaniel Focus says, "Can Passion of the Christ Resurrection top that?" I don't think so. Yeah, I don't know, but we'll see. Cheers to you, Nathaniel Focus. Number 6, we had Harold and the Purple Crayon. Opening was 6 million, which is terrible for a movie that cost $40 million and was shelved for a long time. I think a couple things happen with this movie. One is, I will say, the family box office is pretty hard to break out right now. If I think was able to, because it came out pre Despicable Me 4 and Inside Out 2. So most likely you are either the second or third choice is the best option. Also, it strays too much from the source material. Why isn't it a kid? Why isn't it simply animated? I know there were animated versions trying to be pitched. And I think Zachary Levi annoys the shit out of everyone. And he didn't even promote it for a while and was like all this stuff. I think one of the reasons it was an epic bomb is because it shouldn't have been made in the first place. And everyone looked at this like, please go away as soon as possible. I think it was just a huge miscalculation and ruined even what made the original IP like something that people would want to see theatrically. They took away from it. It's just a fucking idiotic idea. Like, why would you want to see this movie if you're a fan of the book? And I do think a lot of times these books and people are like, oh, they're read every year and they're bought every year. We should make a movie or a show or something. And no one thinks like, well, how would we make that a good movie, or how will this add to that? And how are we, other than just making this a monetary, a monetary gain and stuff like that. And I don't think anyone ever thinks about that with these films. And it's like, I don't know anyone who wants to see this, and I don't know. I didn't love If or anything like that, but I think Harold and the Purple Crayon is just like going to just too many big movies to compete with, which I do think like really hurt it, and that's not necessarily fair. It wasn't a good time to put this movie out, but at the same point, it's like it disrespects its own IP or its source material. Apologies. For so much that I don't think anyone would want to see this shit. It's like, if you like the book, would you want to see that? I think I actually wouldn't mind reading it with my kids, because it wasn't a book I necessarily grew up with, and I'm kind of curious about the book, talking about it now and looking into this. But I think the reason it bombs so bad is just like there are many factors. I think when there's a bomb, everyone goes, oh, it's just this. I think the two factors are, you're competing with the highest grossing movie of the year, Inside Out 2, and then Despicable Me 4. Those like gigantic franchises. And then you're putting out a film that, shits on the book it's based on, starring a star that nobody likes anymore. It's like I think it's both, basically. It's a bad release date. But yeah, you'd be surprised. A lot of people like it. I don't get it either, but anyway. Al Vasquez, thank you for the super chat, says Harold has a scene that takes place in an Ollie's, which is exactly where you'd see copies of the DVD in. What's Ollie's? Is that like a discount store? Hold on, I want to look this up now before I take the swig in my thing. Ollie's bargain outlet. Oh, okay. Answered question. Answered there. Yeah, maybe we have to go to the library. I like the library. Library is awesome. So maybe I'll see if I can get that there. Cheer. Thank you very much, Al Vasquez. That's cool of you. Now I learned what an Ollie's is. The two other things that happened at the box office also, Long Legs is holding very well. It's still the highest grossing neon movie. A Quiet Place Day One is doing well. This film called The Firing Squad, which is for weird religious people, I think. I don't know. But then Ponyo, which actually opened around where it opened when it was originally released, opened to $800,000 at number 10 for Studio Ghibli Fest, which is going on, which is awesome. This is a Fathom event thing. There are two things about this. Same powers. I'm not ignoring you. Two things about what's happening at the box office is the last two were The Firing Squad made $893 million, and Ponyo made $800 million. No, 800,000, and Ponyo made, they both made about 800,000. When Ponyo opened at about 8 or 9, it made about 3 million. To get back to a healthy box office, we need to have these bottom films making 1 to 2 to 3 million. Like, this is showing not a healthy box office that they're making about $800,000. So it's awesome for Ponyo, and I will say this about Ponyo: the little kids really like Ponyo, because when you're showing Ghibli films to kids, there's certain ones you can show and some you can't, like Totoro, obviously, Kiki. But then it's like you can do Spirit Away, but you can't do Mononoke. You can do Castle in the Sky, and then when they're really into it, and then you eventually get to Ponyo. And I think more kids like Ponyo than people realize. I think it's a much bigger title than the older people know about. So I will say I was a little surprised, but I was also like, all my kids and all their friends, both my kids and all their friends love that movie and can reference it and stuff. So I think I wouldn't be surprised in 20 years when you're talking about, when people list their favorite Ghibli films, you'll see Ponyo higher up there. Do I agree with that? No, I don't think it's one of his better ones, but I understand the hype or the love, basically. Zane Power says, "What's wrong with Zachary Levi?" Well, what isn't? No. Cheers to you, Zane Powers. I'll say this. I think it's his anti-vax stuff, how he flips out when his movies bomb. But I also think he's always kind of been... I think with Chuck, he had so much goodwill behind him, but I think it's like, as it's gone on, he's like annoying. He's got weird views on stuff. He promotes RFK Jr. He just like isn't really thinking, but he also makes bad choices. And I think Shazam 2... hurt him more than helped him. No, I know it was a joke. Sorry. I'm actually answering. But no, anyway, moving on. Sorry. The other thing that was kind of interesting, this thing called Cat Video Fest 2024 opened at 16th with $280,000 at with 106 things. So it was like sort of a special thing. But yeah, a Cat Video Film Fest opened at 16th this past week, which I thought was funny. And then, as everyone's favorite thing, what was at the bottom of the box office? We have a film called Sight. Wow, Summer Camp, already at 53rd. So this film made $308. It's always like a depressing... Maybe I'll stop doing this at some point. It says, when a blind orphan arrives in his waiting room seeking a miracle, a world-renowned eye surgeon must confront his past and draw on the resilience he gained growing up in China during the Cultural Revolution to try to restore her eyesight. What the fuck? How does that make... I don't... Anyway, it's a religious movie and nobody saw it. I don't... Okay, moving on. I think that's everything. Yeah. Oh, also... okay, I have two things, and then Warner's, actually. Interstellar 2 released digitally on August 20th. I believe the DVD or the Blu-ray will come out soon after that. We do not have a Disney Plus date. I'm a little surprised because I thought if I was Disney, I would have waited till Thanksgiving to put out Inside Out 2. because that's a big holiday thing. But knowing how releases are now, I feel like it'll come out by Labor Day, judging by this, or maybe even mid-September. If I had Deadpool and Wolverine, though, I would wait till Thanksgiving because it used to be back in my day, one of the big summer movies would come out around Thanksgiving, and I feel like while families are getting together, I remember on '99 Thanksgiving, Austin Powers 2 was just on a lot, and all the kids were watching it, and that was fun. And I think if they're smart, don't do original movies, which Netflix does and stuff. Do a big blockbuster and release it then on streaming because everyone will be like, oh yeah, and this is new, and we're all here, and this is a thing to do, and it sort of works out. But I know they don't do this much. Before we get into Warner's, I know there's been a lot of MCU rumors, and there's the Kang Dynasty rumor, which seemed unconfirmable to me. And I don't like to spread rumors that probably aren't true. Is basically this idea that in Kang Dynasty, all the former, like Tobey Maguire, Andrew Garfield, the X-Men, Ghost Rider, all these people came together to fight Kang, and then the next one would have been Secret Wars would have been the MCU people or something. I a little that doesn't seem super Disney marketable to me. They would definitely I was I don't think that is real. But this one is basically so there was a rumor, and it's by this guy Devin Faraci, who used to be a bigger news scooper guy, and then he got canceled and actually turned his life around and stuff. But he posted this, and he was like, look, this is a rumor, but I've heard it from a lot of good sources, and they sort of keep hearing it's a rumor, so he wanted to report it and talk about it. But he acknowledged it's a rumor, and I'm going to acknowledge it as well. I did retweet it, but I'm going to talk about it a little bit. The idea is that Wolverine in the MCU and how they're going to handle it. What? Whoa. Hello, Will. How's it going? Okay. Okay. All right. This is a very big super chat. I want to thank you for your generosity. I will... okay, let me do this. Sorry. He says, the real crime about Harold and the Purple Crayon is that we could have had a version of that directed by either Spike Jonze or Henry Selick. That's actual robbery because that Zachary Levi thing looked like ass. Is that true? I heard the Henry Selick thing. I didn't hear the Spike Jonze one. So I'm assuming you know something. Man, Spike Jonze. I like Where the Wild Things Are. I need to rewatch it because I would like to watch it with my kids, but I'm not sure what the right age is. But man, wow, Will, you came out of nowhere with that. You're no, Spike Jonze was so good at Where the Wild Things Are, and Henry Selick would do a great job. I was thinking about that, an animated one would be great, but Spike Jonze is so imaginative, he could have gotten that to work. So, anyway, Will, thank you very much, man. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much, sir. But when you bring it up that way, yeah, some of the times when you read developments and stuff, you're like, what the why did you do it this way? Why? Yeah, that's good call. Good call on that, Will. Thank you very much, sir. All right. Okay, so the rumor with Wolverine, and again, this is a rumor. The person who reported it is dignifying with rumor, but I think there's a little validity to that. Is that Hugh Jackman's Wolverine will not go away. He'll still be Wolverine in the MCU. And then when they introduce the X-Men, they will introduce them without Wolverine. And Hugh Jackman's Wolverine will just exist, and they'll do several Wolverine Deadpool movies because Hugh Jackman's I liked working with Ryan Reynolds. It was fun. I'm just going to keep doing this, and I'll be in Avengers stuff and things like that. And then the X-Men can exist otherwise. And that was part of the motivation of why in X-Men 97 they did they focused less on Wolverine. I grew up with X-Men, and part of the great Claremont run and a lot of great runs is X-Men with Wolverine. So I'm half and half on this because we were rewatching some of the X-Men movies, and I rewatched First Class, and I do think that might be my favorite. I think that might be the one that captures an X-Men story the best. And Wolverine's, as a cameo. The thing is, there's not actually any X-Men movies, I think, except for maybe Dark Phoenix, unless that is a Wolverine cameo I forgot about because that movie sucked. But I find it to be an interesting idea to maybe let's do Gambit, let's do Nightcrawler, let's do all these people. But a lot of people have also brought up, and Devin Faraci also did, that there aren't a lot of X-Men that are iconic enough to sell a movie, and Wolverine definitely is. And the problem with Wolverine, he's much like Poochie, where you're like, where's Wolverine? When's Wolverine coming back? And Hugh Jackman's too sort of iconic, and they're probably having problems replacing him and stuff like that. I think if they do it in this way, it could work. And I think the problem is Guardians of the Galaxy is one of those movies where, awesome idea, James Gunn did a great movie, but almost everyone goes, oh, we can do this weird thing, and if the chemistry's off the charts and the soundtrack's good, this will work. And in a sense, I'm like, that's awesome, I'm glad you think that. But almost no one has the kind of riz, I guess you could say, of James Gunn in that movie, and they can never pull this shit off. So I mean, even that Suicide Squad movie he did, nobody didn't check out as much. So I think it's like, don't try to do the lightning in the bottle thing. And I think it's like, to me, it's like, just do X-Men right, man. Just have Wolverine in there, but don't write it as I've said before, and I've heard screenwriters say this, and I actually heard Bryan Singer say it once, is don't write it as it's a movie that's Wolverine and the X-Men. Make him part of the team. There are certain stories where it's Wolverine and the X-Men, but most comics are Wolverine as part of... Don't say... Sorry. I apologize. I think it's an interesting idea, but I also think it's like... I don't know. I think we're running into this thing with the superhero things where, like, we used to have an era where it's like, oh my god, we got... I can't believe we got Wolverine on the screen. We can't believe we got Superman. I can't believe we got Black Panther. But then we did, and the casting choices were like too good. Where like I can't imagine someone else being Black Panther. I can't imagine someone else being Wolverine. You know what I mean? And it would be very hard to beat that. And I think Hugh Jackman also is very down for this. And I will say he's always don't say Bryan Singer. Thank you. He has always been very open that he wants to do more team ups and do the superhero things, and he likes comics, Hugh Jackman. So I can kind of see why he might want to do it. I don't know. I wouldn't mind an X-Men movie without Wolverine, but I think it's like, to me, he's part of it, and it's just like you kind of got to do it at some point. And then if you do bring him in, it's like the movie becomes about that. So like there's no, you kind of just got to deal with it. But I think it's like, to me, it's like, just do it like 97 did it, where he's part of the team. You give him a couple cool sequences, but you don't do like X2, or you have Stryker show up and like he's got to, do all these Wolverine Weapon X things and stuff like that. So, anyway, okay, Warner Brothers. This is I think it is late, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to do the Warner Brothers thing. I wanted to talk more about Lynch and stuff like that, but I think it is kind of late. So we're just going to do... let me get through the Warner Brothers thing, see where it is, because I want to talk about Lynch and Scorsese, and I would like to do the Obits, because a couple of people died this past week, and all that. All right, so Warner Brothers had a bad evaluation. And what's going on with that is a little more complicated than a lot of people are reporting, because a few things happened. But basically is a lot of these media companies, Disney in particular, had a bad evaluation based on their quarterly reports. The thing with Warner's versus Disney is Disney had a bad one because of theme park attendance. Their streaming numbers are actually doing good. Their TV networks are doing all right. Thing is they have a much, as they say, wider portfolio. They have multiple different sources of revenue and stuff like that. Warner's, 80% of their revenue, apparently, Warner Discovery, comes from TV networks. Obviously, in 2024, that's not great. And when they reevaluated it, obviously the value of these networks went down tremendously in the years since they merged together. However, that is not all of what's going on here. Because the other thing is what happened with the NBA rights. And this is something I actually sort of want to talk about here. Now, Max has sort of gained subscribers, but they're not sure, because what Max did is they lumped it all in with HBO subscribers on cable. So it's actually hard to differentiate whether, like, this is the dumbest fucking thing in the world to me, because I had financial analyst people. I watched like financial analyst things, read articles, and they're like, basically, we don't know if they lost or gained Max people, or they lost and gained HBO people because they mixed it all together, and it's like whatever the fuck this means. So Max is being like super weird. And then what happened with the NBA rights is obviously Warner's, if you watch NBA stuff, oh, thank you again. Well, hold on. I'll be right. I'll be right with you. If you watch NBA stuff, it's on TNT, TBS. They lost those rights to this new deal, which is worth $75 billion, and involves Amazon, Universal, and/or Peacock, and ESPN, and/or Disney. So it does not involve Warner's at all. Warner's is not involved in this deal, and they're actually suing the NBA. Now, obviously, because this next NBA season or whatever is their last one, that devalues what they're going to have right when they're having an evaluation. Because they're like, wait, your profit thing, which is for TNT, TBS, whatever, is the NBA, which now you will not have past a year, and you won't have for 10 years because you're not having, you lost the $75 billion thing, and you're actually suing them because you fucked up so bad. So part of it is they have too much of their company wrapped up in TV networks in 2024, which is obviously fucking stupid, or obviously not going to make you money. Sorry, it's not their fault. But at the same time, yeah, so it's sort of like two things. One, their whole business is in a situation where it's basically just fucked. There's no going around that. It's not Zaslav necessarily, although he sucks anyway. He does suck because he lost the NBA rights. He also sucks because he's suing the NBA. So part of this, yes, is his bad management. The other part of it is the way their business is set up. They were going to have this wasn't going to work out for them. And they're putting out shitty reports with weird numbers also just annoys the fuck out of everyone. So the moral of the story is they were fucked anyway, and they didn't handle it very well, and then they lost a major rights thing. So none of this is good. It has very little to do with like why they shut down Boomerang or the Cartoon Network site. They're just sort of floundering right now because they lost a huge part of their revenue with the NBA thing, and part of their revenue is something that's a business that's fucking dying more and more every day in 2024. So that is basically what's going on here. Now, I want to talk about more about the sports thing because there's a further... I'm not going to talk about sports rights for too long, so you don't need to tune out, but it's actually an interesting thing, especially if you don't like sports. So let me deal with this let me get this super chat. Will said, I was 9 when I went to see Where the Wild Things Are, and while it gave me some existential dread, I did love it and still do now. Spike Jonze gets it. I'll say this. I think I did Where the Wild Things Are for a throwback, maybe? No, or a commentary for Patreon. But man, I came out of the movie, I felt like high or something. Like I didn't smoke nothing or do nothing, but I just felt it was so, it was just so wild. I just couldn't, I don't know. I still think it's like crazy that movie got made. And I don't know why it's not a bigger hit for people, but okay, maybe I would like to rewatch it myself and then I'll evaluate. But man, I don't know how that wasn't like a bigger thing at the. I just thought it was such an amazing. It's a special movie. It's a special movie. Cheers to you all. Thank you very much. So I talk about that Warner thing. I want to talk about one extra thing. It's just the thing I wanted to mention on here. Again, this is not the sports TV rights show, but here it is. Basically. So one of the things the NBA wanted to do with this is basically have with the streaming element is what it used to be. I don't watch sports, but I know at least because my dad did, is you'd have the local games and you'd have at least a big national game. That's usually with baseball or whatever, once a week or whatever, right? It'd be like, there's like Thursday night football and all this shit. You know what I'm saying? With streaming, their idea is basically there will be a national game every night. Now, at first you're like, ugh. But here's the other thing, is what happened with Marvel, what happened with Star Wars, when we started getting like all these shows and we started getting all this stuff, it devalued the entire brand and it made it too much because how can you keep up with that? I mean, as a fan of Marvel stuff, I was like, I can't just spend my whole fucking life watching countless Marvel shows. And I think the thing is like when you have a special night, it's like Sundays football or basketball. I don't know what night people watch basketball, but let's say it's Wednesday, and like that's your special night. And you get together with your friends. You can't get together with your friends every fucking night of the week, and so if there's not a centralized national thing, it will just devalue everything, which they're not really thinking about. So what is another thing that's happening is all these other leagues are actually looking at the NBA and what happens here, and if they are perceived to be successful, at least for a year, supposedly the NFL is considering doing this as well, which would devalue them as well, because everyone who just watches like 4 games on a Sunday and that's like all they do, which is weird, but whatever, they will ruin that as well. So what we're looking at in the 10 years this deal goes on, sports might not be worth $75 billion if they continue this thing. It might be more of a niche thing, which some have suggested these companies sort of think is what's going to happen, because another thing that happened, I just want to get all this out, is ESPN was rising when cable was, and as sort of cable started devaluing and they started going a la carte, a lot of more people cut ESPN than they expected, and ESPN lost a ton of fucking money because people were not, because when you sign up for cable and you have like 60 channels, ESPN was always one of them, and they were getting these like cable fees and stuff, but as soon as less houses had ESPN because they didn't want it, they noticed they weren't as big as they thought. So I think what we could be seeing is, and I've heard this speculated, that sports might be more of a niche thing and less of a mainstream thing than originally thought. And we're going to start seeing that as the actual viewers can pick more than just shove down their throats. And if you're doing both devaluing the brand and making it so omnipresent, we'll see. So anyway, that's it. I just wanted to bring that up because I thought it was interesting. So we're on track. Sensei powers. So we're on track of the good timeline then. Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Cheers to you. All right. I think I might actually, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to talk about a few things in Obits. I do actually have to pee again because I've been drinking so much for the super chats and all that. And then we'll talk about Batman Cape Crusaders and then questions. So we had two directors kind of talking about how they're scaling back at least. David Lynch said he's retiring. First off, because of his emphysema, he can't really direct in person anymore. If he gets COVID, it would be very bad for him. But then said he's not retiring. What I take this as, and as someone who likes to be creative and make stuff, is like, you never really want to stop doing that. And I don't think he would stop being creative. I don't think we'll get like Twin Peaks, another one, I guess, or get like another movie from him, but I could see shorts, and he said he could direct remote, and I still think there'll be David Lynch stuff, but I think like it'll probably be scaled back. But he's getting older, and because he smoked his whole life, I think it's sad because David Lynch is so influential and such a great director and a big thing to me as a kid, a teenager and stuff like that. But yeah, unfortunately. The other thing was Martin Scorese. He said he's probably not going to do these big movies anymore, which part of me, good night, Dan. Thank you for being here. Which part of me is a little happy about, because I kind of like his smaller stuff sometimes. And he's been doing these big epics since like Gangs of New York. Everything's been a huge movie. And I kind of am like, I'm a little more curious to see him do a small movie at this point than do another DiCaprio thing that costs $100 million and stuff like that. So I'm very curious about what that'll be, but it seems like, these guys are getting older, and I get it, but I hope Lynch is okay. All right, so I want to talk about 3 obits and then a small break, and then we might actually make it to one, unfortunately. I kind of wanted... Anyway, sorry tonight's been a crazy show, I guess. There's 3 very notable people. One was Charles Cyphers, who's known as the police chief dad in the first Halloween, and he was coming back in the reboot franchise and stuff like that. Sadly passed away at the age of 85. If you know Halloween, he's when they stopped to see the hardware stores broken into, and I forget which one is his daughter, but he passed away this past week. Connie Shumei, I think how you say her name. She was one of the kind of elders in Black Panther, who was older also, passed away this past week, as well as Joyce Barbner, who, if you've seen American Splendor, was the wife in American Splendor, who made comics as well. She was the wife of Harvey Pekar, She also passed away this week. I think American Splendor is actually kind of underrated. I should have reviewed it at this point. Anyway, so I am going to hold on, Batman. Let me get the. I realize I don't have. Oh, episode guide's right on Google. Well, look at that shit. All right, I'm going to take a quick pee break. We're going to do Batman questions, and then we're ending. I would hope to be done before 1, but we'll see about that. Thank you, anyone who's stayed with the show and been supportive, and all the super chats tonight. It's been actually really nice, and very thankful for all of you. So let me just pee. I'll be right back. I'm not going to put up the thing just because let's get this shit done. But I will be after these messages. I'll be right back. Does anyone remember that? If you do, let me know. All right, I'll be right back after. Made a loud noise with the chair there. Oh, Rat Boy. Mickey said, let's go all night. I'm drawing at the moment. Okay. Were you drawing at the ATM? I'm not sure. Cheers to you, Rat Boy. Thank you. All right. Scared I just talked and the mic wasn't on. It is on. All right. In the interest of time, let's just get to Batman Crusader. And thank you all for being here. And it's always nice y'all are here. I gotta say. All right. Batman Cape Crusader. So I want to talk about this because originally I was going to do, I know this is a movie crap short, but like an actual YouTube short. And I'd be like, this show's fine, whatever. I don't know. And that was the plan. If Ryan Walterson asked me, and I was like, that's what I think I should do. He was like, makes sense. And then I watched a few, the first one, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. And then I watched the second one and I liked it. And then I watched the third one and I liked it, but it was written not great, or structured not great, let me say. And so I have complicated feelings basically about Batman Cape Crusader. I think from the onset when I saw drawings, I was like, this sort of looks a little too much like the animated series. And that's sort of one of my issues with it. And honestly, the 3 big executive producers, and the first credited in this theme song, which is odd, it literally starts off with executive producer J.J. Abrams. Then it goes executive producer Matt Reeves. And then it goes executive producer Bruce Timm. And kind of my issue with this is like, I like Matt Reeves as the Batman, and it is definitely different from Nolan and Tim Burton, but it's still dark. It's like, is David Fincher's dark, edgy, Frank Miller influenced Batman any different from Tim Burton's dark, edgy, Frank Miller influenced Batman, or Christopher Nolan's dark, edgy, Frank Miller influenced Batman? And I kind of feel the same way about this, where it's like, I feel like Batman is a much more interesting character than we get cinematically or animation. And I would like okay, just do. I know Neil Adams influenced Frank Miller, but I would love to see Neil Adams Batman with the blue cape, blue and gray cape and cowl kind of thing, or like something different. But this is like it's like okay, we moved animated series a little off to the side, but it's basically the same fucking thing, and I just don't understand why we need this. It like confuses me because it's like so much like what animated series did. I'm often sitting there like, I don't get why we would fucking make this. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It's like we're gonna have this IP or these characters like Batman, Superman, Spider Man, and they're gonna just keep coming back and keep having different things. I often wonder, like, well, what are we going to do with these characters? How are we changing them for the times? It feels like Batman's sort of stuck in this, like, well, the most distinctive one is the Frank Miller influence one. Um, and then, um, and, you know, and the animated series is the most distinctive, and this kind of Frank Miller one's the most distinctive, and that's just what we're sticking with, and I'm sorry there's nothing else. But it's like, well, why just keep doing that? It just doesn't make a lot of sense. So I'd no, he had actually heard of the Frank Miller stuff. He talked about year one specifically. But I I I just feel like we're just trapped in amber with Batman, and it's like you could have done like a brighter one, or like had it like let's have it be, you know, let's have it be a 70s. Let's do 70s, but it's influenced by Neil Adams, and it's like, you know, a gritty 70s movie, and it's like you can still do the dark thing but have it be a little different and have it be color. You know, it's like you could have done something interesting. And I think if you look at Batman, look, the Batman, the one with like heavy metal music and stuff, I think it's called The Batman, or like Batman Brave and the Bold. They did try to reinvent the character, and I guess they've just realized, well, people just want this, so we're just going to do this. And I understand why they're doing it, but yeah. But then, okay, so the first one, Penguin being a recast as a woman, I don't on the surface have any real issue with that. I think it's like Doc Ock was recast as a woman, so of course, you know, they're in Spider-Man, so it makes sense. You know, they'll do it with the Batman villain. It's like a thing. That's fine. But it's like, first off, that character doesn't feel like the Penguin. And I get like, you know, it's a gender swap, so like they will be different. But it like really just felt like you wanted to do a different character. So I was kind of confused, like why, um, like what they're doing with that. And that honestly, like the whole idea of like in it, the Penguin has this like ship that like shoots missiles and stuff, and no one can figure out like why are these buildings exploding, even though every time a building explodes there's a clear missile noise. I'm just like, what the fuck even is that? Like, it was just so not good. It's like not even really Penguin, and like not even how Penguin would like. I was just like lost on what the point of all, and it was like not a very good episode, and it's not introducing Batman very well, and it was just like very much a mess. And it's like I was like, I don't have an issue with the recast. I do have an issue with like, why is this Penguin? And like there's no like, the People's Joker did a much better job as like Penguin as like the person who runs an improv than like this that had some of the biggest names in Hollywood and to deal with Batman. And I was just like very lost on what the point was. Like, again, don't have an issue with them making Penguin a woman. I do have an issue with like, this is just a bad version of that character, and it just felt like why is it fucking Penguin? Like, I just didn't understand like what they were trying to say with that. It just seemed odd, and like I really didn't get what they were doing with that. It was just like very much like odd. And then the second one, um, uh, which is about a movie. It's basically the Clayface episode, and it's like this old Hollywood thing. I actually thought that was the best, most solid episode. It was very much, you know, a classic Hollywood kind of tale thing about like this actor who wanted to be a leading man but wasn't. Although that's not totally like what the 40s were. He gave me sort of Paul Mooney vibes, but which I was like, he was an actual leading man who won Oscars and shit. So maybe like I think that was a little silly, but it ultimately very much worked. That episode was actually fairly distinct and tight. I think some animated series writers worked on that one. That one's the only one I'd actually recommend. But then the third one is just frustrating because you have two plot lines that have no business being in the same episode, and both are good actually. But it was like, why are these two together? And I just kept looking at this like, what the fuck is going on right now? Like, so half of it is Bruce Wayne. You start off at this jewelry exhibit. He's showing his mom's jewelry, and this guy makes some shitty comment about his mom. He hits him, and so he has to go to therapy with Harley Quinzel, who doesn't look like she's going to be Harley Quinn, but like that's like, who cares? That doesn't matter. And that's like fine. But then the other part of the episode, I guess I'm not sure which one would be considered A or B plot, but let's say it's the B plot just for shits and giggles, is about Catwoman. Now, Christina Ricci is Catwoman, and I think that was actually a smart casting. I was like, that makes total sense. Like, she's part of the Burton thing. And then her Catwoman's like helper, Gertrude, was this one actress who, fuck, I forget her name. I apologize. When this is a later thing, and I'll just say it down here. And she was actually in, I think John Waters' A Dirty Shame, so it was cool, like two people from John Waters movies together. Because Christina Ricci was in Pecker and all that. And that was like, I liked the Catwoman story, and I liked the Batman going into therapy and like thinking about his past and thinking about what happened with, or thinking about happened like with his past and like how what happened with his parents and stuff. And they don't actually show the parents' murder; they just show the effect it had on Bruce, which I thought was actually interesting. But it's like, if they had one where it's like someone who Bruce is dealing with his anger or doing a specific villain for that, and then it like had no business being with the Catwoman one. It didn't make any thematic sense. So it's like, you basically had two episodes they mushed together. Maybe in the next one, and a couple of people are mentioning maybe in the next one it like meant more, but like it really didn't work. And it was like kind of sad because it's like you had two parts that were good, but they should not be together. And it was just like weird, and I didn't understand what they're really doing. And like, that's the whole thing with this show, is it's like, why is it like animated series but like not, but is? That's odd. And then why, like, some of their motivations just don't make any sense plot-wise. And like, it feels like an Abrams thing because like he's not really good at writing or storytelling, and it's just like, it's very blaringly obvious in certain ones. The second one works because it's distinct, like almost like an animated series, like a classic thing. But my thing with this is like, this is an animated series. Why are you doing that? Why didn't you come up with a distinct thing? And like, Batman and its various interpretations is known for like Adam West or Christopher Nolan or Lego Batman or Brave and the Bold or animated series, and you bounce around, and this just feels like we're just floating in the air and going absolutely fucking nowhere. And I do not understand what the accomplishes. I don't actually want to keep watching it because I found it a little frustrating, because I'm just like, where is this like going? Like, what are we doing with this? And I sort of get almost like why Max just went like whatever to it. It seems like marketable, and I get that, but I just really don't get why make it this way. And it's like, I don't know, you could have gone to like, let's do like more of a silent film thing, or you could have, there's certain things you could have done, but it just feels like let's take out some of the Fleischer brothers and like add in more like the crime stuff. But I really don't know what they were doing with this. I like Christina Ricci as Catwoman. I even like the voice of Batman. I like what they're doing with certain things in it. But you really just needed someone who really knew how to tell story in this and understood what they're doing with these characters and what they're saying with them. And I couldn't figure out that the entire time. I really couldn't. And it just felt like they didn't know what they were saying with it. And it felt like in the original, like with the animated series, which they seem super influenced by or super like indebted to in a lot of ways, like they understood like, we're doing classic detective stories with this kind of Fleischer Brothers style with Batman. And in this, it's like, are you doing detective stories? It just feels like you're doing like dumb superhero shit that's badly told in a lot of ways. And this isn't like, I don't hate the Batman, but it feels like Matt Reeves is just sort of like coasting on the interpretation he's supposed to do, but not moving the character creatively forward. And it just kind of like, you're just sitting there like, well, what are we even like doing with some of this stuff? It felt like something that shouldn't be happening at this point. So I'm excited for whatever the animated show is next after this, but as for it right now, I just found it to be sort of a failure creatively, because it couldn't understand what its point was. And whether you like Nolan or Burton or Joel Schumacher or whomever, they understood what their perspective was and what they were doing creatively. And I think like something like People's Joker, in the same year, People's Joker versus this, People's Joker is like bursting with creativity, and this feels like its creativity was approved by what, you know, Warner's thinks is the right interpretation of Batman that's the most marketable. But I'm not knocking it just because it's marketable. It feels boring, because it feels like I could just be watching animated series. Why would I watch this over animated series when it's like the same thing but shittier? I don't want Shasta Cola when I can just get Pepsi right there. And there's like really very little reason for you to watch this show, other than like it's cool to see Christina Ricci in this. It's cool to see certain things, but overall, is it that more like necessary, or does it make it more relevant or anything like that? Absolutely not. I think it's just sort of like watching someone, you know, tread water while you're waiting for something else to actually happen. And watching the show, I can tell you it's not really exciting to see someone tread water. You're just frankly not drowning. And I don't think watching a Batman show not drown, which it probably does later or something, is that much of an accomplishment. It just sort of feels like a bit of a waste of my fucking time, and probably a waste of yours to deal with a Batman show that's really just not accomplishing anything new creatively for the character, when you could be accomplishing a lot more with something, with a character as interesting as Batman really is. Anyway, I don't think I'll watch the rest. All right, let's do the questions and let's get out of here, because it is late. I am sorry how this worked out. Is a cat in a room? I don't think they are, but anyway. All right, so I'm going to write questions below. We're going to do the Patreon questions, and once it turns one, I'm definitely done. So, but thank you all for being here. Thank you for the super chats tonight. Everyone's been way cooler. I was worried that this was going to be a real shit show, so I'm glad that it worked out. I was like, man, should I just... Anyway, Nathaniel Fogus says, Nathaniel Fogus said, what's a classic film you'd like to see get an animated series? I think that is a good question. A classic film, I wouldn't mind... Vertigo. No. A classic film. I wouldn't mind Wellman's Public Enemy. I wouldn't mind... I'll just say that because I should move on, but I think that would be cool. This Sinram says, any characters or actors that did not show up in Deadpool and Wolverine that you were disappointed by their exclusion? Yeah, the classic X-Men. I really thought we'd get James Marsden or Famke Janssen or Halle Berry. I was a little surprised by that, to be honest with you. Like, I thought we'd get more, or Anna Paquin. Like, we didn't get any of those, and those are sort of the most associated. So, and, you know, I wouldn't have minded a reference to Roger Corman's Fantastic Four. I think that would have been cool too. But Jordan Bouchard said, did you ever read any comic series? He writes did/do, by the way. Did you ever read any comic series like The Simpsons or any Spawn, DC, or Marvel or anything? When I was reading basically anything back in the 90s. I read probably the first 25 issues of Spawn, maybe further, which I liked when I was a kid, but once you reread it, like the first couple issues when there's mystery is really good, and as soon as they start explaining stuff, you're like, oh, never mind, this sucks. X-Men, I've read everything from Giant Size till about maybe 98. Just so many things. A lot of Spider-Man, a lot of every New Mutants issue from 1 to 100 and all the annuals, stuff like that. All right, Austin says, good day, mate. Crikey, that was a good show tonight. My question, Batman Cape Crusader. While a lot of folks have enjoyed it, I find it okay and lesser to Batman the Animated Series. My question is, what kind of Batman cartoon would you like? Something dark and gritty, or more lighthearted like My Adventures with Superman? I wouldn't mind a lighthearted one, to be honest with you. I'm actually surprised we haven't gone in that route. I don't know exactly like My Adventures with Superman, but I wouldn't mind something like close to that world. Maybe if you're going to do animated influence. I have seen, I would say, I've seen Demon Slayer a little bit. I've seen like 8 episodes and I stopped for whatever reason. And I would say maybe something like that would actually kind of work, where it's like silly and anime influence, but not as lighthearted as. Although Superman can get really dark, so I need to do that review of season 2. I like that season 2. Okay, hold on, let me go up. Okay, Zane Powers says, "What's okay?" Man, YouTube scrolls is like sometimes it works and then it doesn't. Okay, Zane Powers asks, "What's worse, when an actor starts bitching that their crappy movie bombed, or when an actor starts getting cocky when their crappy movie made money?" Zachary Levi versus Rob Schneider. I think just like acting stupid publicly is obnoxious in general, but I would say it's probably when their bad movie bombs and they're on Instagram Live complaining about it. I'd say is worse. Austin, what happened to Spike Jonze? Why doesn't he not direct anymore? I heard he was doing a new thing, but I don't know why he doesn't direct it. I think some of the times it's like you accomplish enough and you can't get certain things made, but he really should have done more, and it sucks. Even after his Oscar for Her, I thought he would do more stuff, and he would fit real in with the A24 people, and I know he does like commercials, but I don't know. I haven't think I've seen anything by him in a long time, so unfortunately. Cornbread asked, "Do you think the way to save the film industry for theaters to buy a ticket to Harold the Purple Crayon and get a discount on Borderlands dumpster movie?" I mean, it couldn't Hoyt. I don't know. Will and Will Studios, you saw the Borderlands film reviews being as bad as we thought it would be. I'm actually surprised how negative it's been. I was a little shocked by that. I didn't think we get 0% from it, so that was surprising. Rat Boy Mickey, favorite comics you've read lately, and what makes a comic a must-buy in your opinion? I did read Bear Viking Queen or whatever. Well, I got that issue and I haven't read it. I got a gift certificate for my birthday for the comic book store near me. The comics I mostly read are like to my kids. But it's been a while. It's mostly just like nostalgia stuff that I want to reread, and then like when I'm with my kids, I'll get a dollar bin thing that I like. But I would like to read the Bear Viking thing again. But the one, and I have it right here, and I'll shout him out again. And when I'm gonna go to New Orleans again. This guy Kyle Bravo, and he has this comic. It's an indie comic called Forever and Everything. And I follow him on Instagram, and sometimes you see me do an Insta story with him. And it's just like an everyday guy, a teacher, and just little things about his life and stuff. I'm it's because it's easier. I can just read a little bit and then put it back. So that what is this? Oh, anyway. So I guess maybe that. I hope that answers that question. Sorry, not plausible. Your cat Buster is named after Ghostbuster, Dustbuster. What kind of Buster is he? He's actually Buster Kitten. Named after Buster Keaton. All right, we're just gonna do a few more because it is late and I don't want to. I got some cleaning up to do. Do we need to make sure Trump wins so we can honor the bro code and keep the historic static of pure male presidentry going? No, I don't think so. Cornbread, you're becoming a pop Funko man. Predict the next Funko Pop you'll be gifted. Rattle off a few characters. I'll write it down and keep track if any of them being true. There was a Mystery Science Theater one that's a Crow Servo combo, which I've always wanted to get. That's the only one I probably want to get, but it's expensive. Other than that, maybe more Jaws ones, maybe. I don't know. Favorite film of 2004? Eternal Sunshine, probably. Or Spider-Man 2 or Incredibles. One of those. Zane Powers, how can you say the Russos were talentless hacks when they wrote for Arrested Development? I don't think they wrote. I think they just directed. But I don't think they're that talentless, but they currently have been. Austin says, last one, I'm going to bed. Have you ever watched the 2004 The Batman or Beware the Batman, the CG one? I don't think I watched the CG one, but I watched the Batman when I did that Dracula Batman lost film file thing. Daniel Foga, have you been enjoying the Switch? Yes, but I haven't. My kids play it more than me. Obviously, I'm not really. Okay, I'll stop with the. Okay, let's see. Can we see the shark toy? Yes, and he's actually missing the other jaw there, unfortunately. So, anyway. But yeah, he's a Jaws toy. Can you do an impression of a soulless corporate drone who claims everything they do is done with the benevolent intentions? Not right now because I'm tired, but maybe just like, gee golly, I'm always right. I don't know. Daniel Fogo, what's something you aren't prepared to realize is going to be 20 years old? I'm not as upset by those things because I go, yeah, it makes sense. It was this long ago. I don't know. What was your top 5 favorite moments during the Paris Olympics so far? Zane Powers. I don't know. My daughter likes watching Celine Biles, so probably something she did. I'm not super into the Olympics though. Thoughts on Herb Powell coming back in The Simpsons? Oh yeah, I should have. That I had to skip over. I'm actually excited for that. I'll watch that episode. I'm into that. So, Nathaniel Foga. Think Paddington and Peru will live up to the other 2 films? Probably not, but I'm still excited for it. And the last question from Zane Powers: why must cats fight one another? I don't know. I think they just like being silly. Anyway, thank you very much tonight for being here. I think it is time to go. Thank you everyone much for the super chats. It was very nice of all of you. I want to thank to Ratboy Mickey, Zane Powers, Will. Come on, YouTube. Oh, sorry. Will, Zane Powers, Al Vasquez, Austin, Nathaniel Foga. Thank you very much for your super chats. Big cheers to all of you. Thank you everyone for being here. Thank you for making this a good show. I think it all worked out in a sense, I guess. All right. You all have a good night. I will see you all next time. I believe there'll be something tomorrow. We'll see. Thank you for everyone who watches and likes and all those things. I really do appreciate it. You all have a good night. There will not be timestamps till tomorrow. I need to clean up and then go to bed. But have a good night. Have a good weekend. Take care of yourselves. And I will see you all next time. And subscribe if you would like to. And see you later. Thank you all for staying with me so late. And I'll see you all later. Peace. Bye.